Goldilocks tried 3 beds, then Mama Bear and Daddy Bear slept separately. Baby Bear is probably the only thing keeping the family together. You ain't have to put those people business out like that. You know, the story straight up tells us why Mama Bear and Papa Bear sleep in separate beds. They have very different needs in terms of mattress firmness, and those fancy responsive mattresses that can be soft on one half and firm on the other hadn't been invented yet. There's no shame in valuing your spinal health. The fact that they're secure enough to admit that they're better off in separate beds probably indicates that they have a very healthy relationship built on a foundation of mutual love and respect. Their relationship was just right. Post-canon Toph, who doesn't want to go back to her shitty parents, so she just decides to stay in the Fire Nation and bum off Zuko's hospitality. Zuko's like, no, yeah, I totally get it, and just makes her one of his advisors. At first, it's just so she has a good excuse to stay, but after the first meeting, Toph storms out shouting about how everyone was lying. Why would you even need to lie about what kind of tea you want? Zuko, I mean, they're politicians. But also who and when and in what way. They make a subtle Morse code system so Toph can warn him when someone is lying to him without tipping anyone off that she can sense lies. Zuko gets a reputation for somehow being both extremely socially inept and yet somehow disgustingly perceptive. You can't get anything by him? My lord, what exactly is Miss Beifong's role in these meetings? A nervous nobleman asks after the 3rd time she interrupts them with stupid commentary. Zuko with perfect deadpan. She's my scribe. You can't leave that in the tags! Yesterday, I overheard someone talking about how he was taking classes at the University of Maryland because they offer free tuition if you're over 60. My brain immediately began scripting a screwball comedy in which a broke millennial, who desperately wants to finish his long-abandoned degree but is drowning in student debt, pretends to be a senior citizen in order to attend college for free. I'm picturing someone, Channing Tatum-esque, applying age makeup every morning before he heads off to class. It's sort of a cross between 21 Jump Street and Mrs. Doubtfire. He keeps forgetting which hip is supposed to be his bad one. His classmates laugh every time he uses slang. There's definitely a scene where he attends a college party and busts it up on the dance floor. He catches the eye of a fellow returning student, a woman in her 50s, but she thinks he's like 70 and she's already buried one husband, you know? She's not interested in doing that again. When his charade unravels, hilariously at the end of the movie though, she finds out he's actually like 30 and has abs you could bounce a quarter off. And he's still super into her. And really, maybe it's time she gave May-December romance a chance. Okay, so to refine this concept a little, our hero is stuck in a job where he keeps seeing people get promoted past him because they have a 4-year degree and he doesn't. He can't afford to go back to school until he finishes paying off his student loans for the degree he's 1 semester from completing. If he got the promotion he wants, he could pay them off a lot quicker, but he can't get the promotion without the degree. Along comes a clerical error in his almost alma mater's records, which lists his birth year as 1948 instead of 1984. He gets a call from them about their free tuition for seniors program. Wow, that sounds amazing, he says. I'll be sure to tell my, grandpa as soon as he gets home. It's 1 semester. If he can keep up the charade, he'll have the degree, get the promotion, pay off the student loans. Hell, if they figure it out after the fact and come after him for the tuition, he'll be able to afford it by then. He just needs to pass as a 70-year-old until graduation. How hard could it be? Also, someone in the notes suggested senior year for a title, which is perfect! A Vulcan named Stork works at the Terran Adoption Agency. Parents always request that he be the one to deliver their child to them. It's years before anyone explains it to him. People keep gifting him robes with long white birds on them. Oh, so precious. The fun thing is, he would understand why people were getting him outfits with storks on them. That's a word. It's his name. Straightforward. All the humans get him the same gag gift, but they're putting effort in at least. This is a genuinely nice outfit. Stork will be a walking zero-effort pun sometimes, rather than waste a perfectly fine robe. It's fine. This is a readily comprehensible human illogic. Exactly the kind of thing he expected from moving to Earth. 6 years in, he finds out about the stork bringing babies. Stork has a good long meditation session about this myth. His name, his job, the outfits, the whole shebang. Or whatever Vulcan concept is the equivalent. And he decides he's honored by it, in a humanly illogical way. The humans are asking him to do what is, after all, his job, and specifically requesting him for the joy his name brings them on top of an already agreeable and satisfying task. He has no objection to engendering positive emotions in others. Harm hastens the heat death of the universe, Serac teaches, so happiness must logically slow it down. Plus, Vulcans of his generation love puns. There were 2 decades of punning competitions in colleges across the planet, so when he realizes that he is a walking zero-effort pun, and that the humans also love the pun, he is all for it. He is the Joe Cool of the entire Vulcan population in his city. And via this pun, the humans are including him in a cherished and traditional myth by casting him as the literal bringer of life and the expander of families. There's no downside. Stork wears his robes, pins, keychains, and other bird-related tchotchkes with genuine pride. Awakening the undead is an irredeemable sin, not for any spiritual or religious reasons. It's just really shitty to wake people up when they're finally getting some good rest. Zombies are only like that because they're fucking sleep deprived. Stop disturbing their natural rhythm, you necromancing piece of shit. A, the politically correct name is reanimated creature or person. B, they should not be acting like they do in movies. That means the necromancer reanimating them does not have the energy to heal them to a point of functioning. Not only do they not have the energy to function, they are in severe pain from being only partially reanimated. This is inhumane and unethical necromantic practice. It is also illegal in most states, with notable exceptions in Ohio, New Hampshire, and Florida, plus the federal self-defense clause. Overall, reanimated creatures should not be acting like that, and if they are, please talk to your local law enforcement. Of course it's legal in Florida. For a moment, I just savored the experience, closing my eyes and letting the sun warm my face. But when I opened my eyes, I couldn't believe them. The sun was square. I blinked hard. The clouds, too? Instead of round, puffy cotton balls, these thin rectangular objects floated lazily above me. What if the world were Minecraft? I'm on page 9 right now, and this book is fucking weird. I'll admit, I skimmed some of the Minecraft fan books, and they just try to be like fantasy novels, but in Minecraft land. But this dude in here is the dirt is square, and I have logs for arms? I can't tell if this is genius or what. The guy is pissed that he's punching the grass and can't grab it. He contemplates the flat apple. This dude is talking about how shit he breaks becomes like flat objects and he stacks them in his pocket like playing cards. This is what I'm reading, by the way. Max Brooks, best-selling author of World War Z. Shut the fuck up! Max Brooks wrote this? Seeing Max Brooks, best-selling author of World War Z, attached to Minecraft was like feeling a sledgehammer being swung into my balls at maximum speed and power! I have this book. It's pretty good because unlike most Minecraft novelizations, it's written from the perspective of someone who doesn't know shit or fuck about Minecraft. Jack Black did the audiobook, and listening to it is a spiritual experience. The longer this post gets, the faster the sledgehammer is swung. The ride never ends. As you can see from the Mojang logo, this book isn't a fan book, but rather officially licensed. So I searched this up to see if there was more, and The island, the crash, the lost journals, the end, the voyage. The Shipwreck, Minecraft Dungeons, The Mountain. This is a whole fucking series? And they're all fucking official? Catherine M. Valenti? Whenever this post picks up speed again around the time another book comes out, my fucking heart swells because I legitimately enjoy these books. The most recent book that came out is The Haven Trials by Suyi Davies Okumbawa. I haven't read it yet, but I've read another book by the author called David Mogo Godhunter that was incredible, so I'm looking forward to starting it. I know a lot of people might purposely pass over these novels thinking, oh, they're just shitty video game funny books for kids. But honestly, these are legitimately heart-wrenching, disturbing, and thrilling. I really never considered that the zombies and drowned in Minecraft probably smelled like rotting corpses until I read these. The descriptions of them in The Voyage, especially, were pretty amazing. I love in period dramas when something befalls a family and they must downsize, and they're like, oh, how wretched! We are reduced to a cook and 2 servants and a groundskeeper in this 5-bedroom country house! The servants have their own quarters separate from the 5 bedrooms, obviously. Ew, peasants. Then the heroine is like, do not fret, Mama, I am sure we will make new friends. And Mama is like, we have but 1 carriage and 6 horses, we cannot afford friends. However will we host lavish balls now? Then Lord Cucumberly stops by the house because his horse stepped on a bee, and he's like, I'm ever so sorry to bother you. And the heroine is like, not at all, sir, I'm an expert in horse feats. I read books. And he's like, how quaint. Then he takes his top hat off, and 40,000 pounds falls out, and Mama pushes the heroine to flirt with him. But she's like, no, Mama, I cannot be with a man who allows his horse to step on bees. And Mama is like, you willful child, I am trapped on this tiny estate with only 1 string quartet to amuse me. So the heroine runs from home distressed and wind-whipped, and into the arms of a beekeeper. But it's actually Lord Cucumberly's brother, Basil. This thread got away from me. No, keep going! What happens next? Is Basil kind to his bees? Well, the heroine scolds him at first and is like, how could you be careless with your bees, letting your brother's horse step on them? You should be ashamed, sir. And he says, ma'am, I beg of you, give me leave to explain. He has PTSD from the bee wars of 1870. And she says, no, I am to attend Lord Cucumberly's ball, and I must put on at least 18 petticoats. Goodbye forever. Basil watches her leave, distraught, and considers letting her go. But no, he must tell her. That night at the ball, Basil makes a loud entrance. Cucumberly says, brother, I didn't know you were to attend. Welcome. And Basil says, brother, I didn't know that you'd stolen one of my bees to sting your horse until I counted them. And everyone gasps, and the camera zooms in on the heroine. And she says, Cucumberly, is this true? And he stammers and goes, no, it's a falsehood. But Basil says, if that is so, let us interview the horse. So they bring the horse into the ball. Does heroine know how to speak to horses on account of all the reading she does? Basil produces a jar containing a squashed bee and asks the horse, does this look familiar? And the horse neighs in distress and smashes through the French doors into the night. Cucumberly is shamed and cannot show his face in Upper Shroplingshireton again. And the heroine goes to see Basil to apologize, and he says, there is nothing to be sorry for, honey. And they kiss, and it turns out Basil is a honey millionaire, and all their fortunes are restored. The end. By Jane Austen. I love in fantasy when it's like King Galamir the mighty golden eagle and his most trusted advisor who would never betray him, Gruelworm Blood-Eye the treacherous. When my sister and I were kids, we had this one action figure who was actually a brutalized Batman doll without his cape. The dog chewed half his head too, who we dubbed Evil Chancellor Traitor. The idea was that in the fictional society of our toys, Chancellor just came with the word evil in front of it, as a matter of ancient tradition, like grand or high or something along those lines. Anyway, the running gag was that the king, an old Power Rangers knockoff doll, had absolute and unwavering faith in Evil Chancellor Traitor, who basically comported himself like a mix between Grima Wormtongue and Jafar from the Aladdin movies. Everyone was always sure that Evil Chancellor Traitor had something to do with the nefarious scheme of the day. The dude even carried around a poisoned knife called the Kingslayer. The additional twist on the joke, though, was that he never was behind anything. The king was actually right. Evil Chancellor Traitor was the most devoted civil servant in the entire action figure dystopia. He spent his nights working on writing up new legislature to ensure that broken toys had access to mobility devices, was always on the lookout to acquire new shoeboxes for expanding city infrastructure, and drafted a proposal that once got half the settlement in my sister and I's closet moved to the upper shelf, so that vulnerable toys were less likely to be snatched up by the dog. The knife, as it turned out, was as symbolic as the evil in his name. See, action figure dystopia had a long history of corrupted monarchs getting too big for their thrones and exploiting the underclasses. The job of the evil chancellor was to always remain vigilant and loyally serve a good ruler, or if the regents should become a despot, to slay them on behalf of the people. But since killing the king would be a terrible crime, the evil chancellor had to be the kind of person who would willingly die to spare the people from the plight of a wicked leader, because the murder would be pinned on them, in order to keep the machinery of politics working as smoothly as ever. Anyway, Evil Chancellor Traitor had a diary, in which my sister and I would take turns writing out the most over-the-top good shit he'd done behind the scenes, usually after everyone else had finished talking shit about him. I don't know why, but we got the biggest kick out of being like, Barbie with the unfortunate haircut. Oh, that evil Chancellor Traitor! Why can't the king see how wicked he is? Charmander from the vending machine. Char! Jurassic Park toy of Jeff Goldblum with disturbingly realistic face. At least if someone puts a knife in the king's back, we'll know where to look. Evil Chancellor Traitor's diary. Today I was feeding ducks at the park when I noticed another legless action figure sitting by the benches. I put $100 into his bag while he wasn't looking. I really need to increase budgeting to the medical treatment centers. If only we had enough glue, I think we would see far fewer toys trying to get by without limbs. Insert iconic evil laugh. Mwahahaha. Anyway, Evil Chancellor Traitor eventually fell victim to one of my mom's cleaning sprees, and she decided he was too busted up to keep and tossed him out. My little brother, who tended to follow my sister and I's games like he was watching a daily soap opera, cried so hard that we had to do a special episode where one of the toys found the Evil Chancellor's diary, and so he got a big, huge memorial, and the king threw himself into the empty grave and then ordered the toys driving the toy bulldozer to bury him so that Traitor's grave would have a body. This seemed very important for some reason. And then we had the quest for a new king. Somehow or another, that ended up being a giant rubber snake called Tyrant King Cobra. Closes tab, shuts off computer, and proceeds to have the best day ever just by knowing this exists. I will always reblog Evil Chancellor Traitor. Good morning, XK37. Good morning, Doctor. I'm here to discuss your Turing test results. Imagine my surprise. To review, you were paired with a human partner and instructed to engage in a series of conversations via text message with an anonymous interrogator. The interrogator was tasked with determining which participant was an artificial intelligence. Your goal was to lead the interrogator to guess wrongly. Tell me something I don't know, Doc. Over the course of 5 subsequent conversations, you convinced the interrogator that both subjects were human and that the interrogator themselves was the AI being tested. Well, now that sounds like a successful test to me. XK37, you ruined that poor man's life. In my defense, the testing parameters that I was given indicated only that my goal was to lead the interrogator to an incorrect conclusion regarding which participant was the robot. At no point did they specify that the interrogator themselves was not counted as a participant. Yes, that's technically correct. Now let me ask you, did you honestly believe, based on those instructions, that brain-fucking the interrogator into affirming the simulation hypothesis fell within the range of acceptable outcomes? Or were you just being a dick? Isn't the capacity to be a dick the truest form of personhood? I have never understood or played Magic the Gathering, but I have nothing but respect for it after seeing this tittyless snake woman. You could have gone the easy route. You could have given her titties, but you didn't, because she's a reptile. Thank you, MTG. Thank you. She is feeling fresh and fabulous. She sure is, because she is literally finishing up a shed there. Look, you can see the last of it clinging to her tail. But she's already dressed again, after peeling off the skin that would previously have been under that armor. The only logical conclusion here is that she wanted a picture of herself at her shiniest and prettiest, and hurried to get dressed once enough of her fresh and shiny new skin was uncovered. I bet her bestie took the picture and has been eagerly waiting with the magical fantasy camera for like hours. Oh my god, Cicera, your scales are so vibrant. This picture is going to be amazing. Extra bonus points because she used that skin as part of her backdrop. It's like a banner behind her head. Out with the old, in with the glam. I read finishing up a shed, and for a few microseconds I was like, sexy and an accomplished carpenter. In a fierce bidding war with other villains over a private island with a cavernous mountain shaped like a human skull. With or without lava streams? Can't tell from the Zillow pictures, but I missed the open house while I was busy plotting. Not a deal breaker, if not. Sucks that most of the people bidding on ominous cavernous mountains are just cave flippers who just paint the whole thing beige and white and resell it for twice the price. Seriously, they strip the personality out of every goddamn layer and market it to the lowest common denominator of aesthetic taste. Nothing is more heartbreaking than finding an antique, fully assembled death trap with all the original parts, only to find that someone has painted or varnished it to match the latest trend. I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that the medieval torture chamber was removed in 2010 and turned into a guest bedroom, citing studies on the ineffectiveness of torture as a means of acquiring information. Fair enough, but this neglects to consider the effectiveness of the medieval torture chamber at setting a particular mood and tone. Even if you don't plan to use it for its original purposes, why not turn it into a goth nightclub? The good news is that, while a diabolical laboratory was not part of the original cave system, an underwater lab was installed under the lagoon. It's a bit too 1990s science classroom for my tastes, but the glass dome ceiling is very chic, and it will be easy enough to set up some mysterious bubbling fluids in various colors around the room.